Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadi Tamastuma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwara Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapiyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Imagine you are in the middle of the sea, your ship has capsized, and you are in a lifeboat alone, and there is a storm. Thunder, lightning, dark clouds, waves rising like mountains and thrashing you here and there, and you're holding on to your life, you're holding on to that lifeboat. That boat is being thrown this side, that side, you're wobbling in it, no? And you're screaming for help, and there's no one to hear you, because you're out in the sea alone. And in midst of that storm and those rising waves and the splashing water everywhere, thunder, lightning, darkness, just imagine that suddenly a fairy comes there and waves her magic wand. A fairy comes there and waves her magic wand, and suddenly the storm stops. And the waves just freeze. That stillness, at that moment, when that whole storm has come to an end, and even the waves have got frozen, that stillness if we can just imagine. Shankaracharya in Viveka Chudamani, in one of his beautiful contemplative verses, has given this as a meditation. In the same way, as we go through the turmoils of life and storms of life, there are moments where there is a calm. There are moments where there are storms. And between those calm and stormy weather of our mind, we will find that we are still searching for that state which is still, which is silent, which is peaceful. Like that, many a times we have experienced different types of stillness also. You'll think, are there different types of stillness? Yes, there is. Different types of stillness. For example, just before a storm, there's an eerie type of stillness. Just before an earthquake, I don't know if you've experienced this, there's an eerie, almost a frightening type of stillness. Or in that stillness, you feel a certain amount of fear. I'm sure you experienced this type of stillness or not. Have you or have you not? Just before a storm. Just before your wedding. That you'll understand. Because you're looking at me because Singapore we've got one weather. No, it's just the same weather. You really don't know what that stillness before a storm. No? That calm before a storm. No? There's that eerie type of stillness. There's another stillness, you go to a graveyard. It's quiet. But there's a sense of sadness in that stillness. There's another stillness, I'm sure, if these two you have not, because you never go to a graveyard, nor you've experienced a storm. But not only while you're experiencing a weather storm, even in life, just before some problem is to come, there is that moment of calmness and you feel that something's going to happen. That's the eerie stillness. Then you have this stillness, which is you experience in a sad moment, in a moment when you've just given up. But there's an element of sadness, grief, in that, a remorse in that. Then there's another stillness which we all experience, and that is sleep. You are still, not only mentally, physically also. Though you wish that the people who sleep beside you are still. But in that sleep, there is no kind of, no positive experience, it's just still. Then there is a stillness that we experience, that when you get something very delicious, something that is not only just enjoyable or pleasurable, something like, when you eat your grandmother's food or some gourmet food, when you just put it in your mouth, there's a pleasure, and at that moment you just close your eyes and say, that's another stillness you experience, quite pleasurable. And yet none of this stillness, even this pleasurable stillness, is either lasting or totally, completely satisfying. It does not stay for long, nor is it satisfying. The stillness that is being talked about by our scriptures, that which is talked about men and women of realization, that which is pointed out as the goal of meditation, that stillness is beyond all that we understand in this world as stillness. Yet, we all wait for that peace, we all wait for that stillness, because wherever there is turmoil, finally there's a lot of noise also. So, okay, enough. No? You want quietude, you want peace, you want stillness. This stillness that we all are seeking, if you remember when I gave you the topic of peace, I had clearly pointed out that peace to gain, really we don't have to do anything. Because peace is already there. You create a disturbance in peace, and when you create a disturbance in peace, the peace appears to have disappeared. And therefore, that peace is to be gained through discovery, not just by doing something. However, this subtle knowledge escapes most people, and in the name of peace, they only disturb themselves further. For example, you've already got so many things to do, then you add meditation to it. Another agitation, another frustration. No? I'm not saying that meditation should not be done or meditation. What do? Meditation becomes another form of agitation for us. Because without right knowledge, any practice can only distract us or deter us from our goal. It's like driving. If you don't know where you're going and you don't know the road, you may drive and you might reach your destination, but it will be a lot of wavering, stopping, inquiring, etc. But if you have already, unlike when you all go for your driving, nowadays everybody's got GPS, no? Yeah? Or GPRS, what do you call it? GPS, right? Everybody's got GPS, no? And when will they put it on? When they start driving. Why not put it on before you start driving? Then in between, you're driving, wife is screaming from behind, and you put this on. No. How much that even before you actually get your guidance, you may have met with an accident. Same way in life also. Why Gurudev came down to explain this, not just give some techniques. Give us the knowledge and the technique. Brahma Vidya and Yoga Shastra. Otherwise, without proper knowledge, when we do, we can only slow ourselves down and sometimes even harm ourselves. Therefore, this thing that we always seeking, always wanting, but never getting, and even if we get glimpses of it, it is so temporary and so unsatisfying. How to attain this stillness, which our Rishis called as Shantam. Shanti or Shantam. Because today when we say the word peace also, we really don't understand, because so much is going on in the name of peace, peace, peace. You have this peace corps, you have peace this and peace that, and in the name of every peace we have got a war. Whereas Gurudev used to say, with every peace conference we make one more piece of the world. What is this stillness, which is actually our own nature, which is present all times at all places, which in Mandukya Upanishad has been pointed out as Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam. There's a similar one, Satyam, Shivam, Sundaram. But in the Upanishad, it's pointed out as Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam. And the whole Upanishad is to point out to us what is this Shantam. To attain this stillness, which is permanent, everlasting, and not remorseful, not eerie, not dull, not just pleasurable, but which is the sense of total satisfaction. That stillness, how do we achieve? Now and then, all our knowledge we have to consolidate. Because when we study different scriptures, different texts, it does happen that the knowledge itself is so satisfying. Satsangs are giving us peace, otherwise we wouldn't be coming back again and again. But there are times we have to examine our life and say, enough is enough. I have to do it now. And after sometimes many years of study also, the mind becomes complacent. How do we attain that stillness that we are aspiring, for which even we came to spirituality, even for which we come to our regular satsangs, we come to these discourses? The Rishis have summarized it beautifully. Shantam, Shivam, Advaitam. You'll wonder why these three words. Shantam, peace. Shivam, where there is no mobile phones. Shivam, that which is auspicious, that which is pure, that which is beautiful. And Advaitam, where there is no Dvaita, no duality. Three things have been pointed out like this. When I was speaking on Mandukya Upanishad and I knew I would be soon coming to Singapore, I was contemplating on these verses, because each time one has to constantly bring this knowledge within yourself. First and foremost is understanding the very nature of this world. Why is it that we do not have peace? We all want peace. We are struggling, even in the name of spirituality, we are struggling. But wherever we go, we only create restlessness, is it not? Not only within ourselves, but outside us. Because there is Dvaita in us. There is duality in us. There's always confusion when there are two, not one. Is it not? There's always fear when there are two, not one. There's always argument when there are two, not one. There's always war when there are two, not one. Is it not very clear? In Taittiriya Upanishad, very beautifully pointed out that as long as one sees the other, there will always be fear. Now you think, no, when I'm alone, I'm afraid. Do you think like that? Because that doubt I can feel in somebody's mind. Even when you are alone, you are fearing someone hiding behind the curtain. Is it not? That fear comes when there is the other. When you are alone, there is no fear. There is no argument. There is no debate. No? Therefore, most people went to the cave and sat there where there was nobody. You never get angry. You never have to argue with anybody. You don't have to be one up the other. Why does it happen? Because there is no other. But the moment you meet the other, what happens? Every negativity comes out of you. Every negativity that is hidden in you comes out. But all this comes when we see the other. Notice in life, what is the cause of all your agitation, frustration, irritation? It is because of the other. Not the other is causing you, no? Because there is other. What is this duality that we experience? The moment you see the other, moment you see something other than you, you can classify it as good or bad, pleasure or pain, God or devil. You see, the whole world that we experience, in which we are struggling and suffering, is only made up of this duality. We are constantly seeing this duality in front of us. And therefore you will see it's only divisions, 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 and we continue to go on making divisions, 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 and further divisions, to the extent we will see how, where we divide. Is it not? The whole creation we see as different from each other, and in our experience we see a multiple of varieties, the whole world of plurality. And no two things that we experience seem to be identical. Not even two identical twins are identical. Not two leaves, not two crystals are identical. Thus, everything that we see only differences. And as long as you see differences, there will be something pleasurable, something not pleasurable, or something that is painful. For that we have got likes and dislikes. Is it not? Something we like, something we dislike. And thus we divide the whole world into things and beings that we like and we dislike. Already the world has become dual. In that also we have got certain categories, So many distinctions, so many differences we make, and in those differences we can never be at peace, because there's constant like, dislike, like, dislike. And when you're constantly being pulled by these two, by the tug of war between the like and dislike, can there be any peace? I was told one beautiful story as a child. And I never forget that. In a village, everybody was falling sick. People were sick, they were having nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, fever. Everybody was falling sick. They didn't know what was happening. Finally, they went to a wise man and said, "What is happening?" If you wanted to give them a bluff, he would say, "You have done something wrong, and the God's punishment is on you." No, he was not one of those type of preachers. He investigated and found out that if everybody is suffering from this disease, what is that common thing that they are consuming, which is now consuming them? What is that common thing? And he found out each one has different farms, each one goes and gets different food. There's some people who don't even meet each other. But there was only one well in the village where everybody went to gather water. He looked into the texture of the water and realized that the water was totally, completely infected. And being wise, he said that everybody is falling sick because in the well there is a dead cat. In the well there is a dead cat. So they said, what do we do? He said, and how will the water get purified? He says, remove the dead cat and fill the well with more and more water, say from the river, etc. Fill the water, remove the old water and fill new water, or remove the old water and let the fresh water come in from the spring. Whatever is possible for them. They came back after a week or two, and yet everybody was sick. And the whole village was there trying to take out the water. Again and again take out the water, and when the fresh water came in, that fresh water was also infected. They worked, they struggled. How many of them? The whole village was there, determined, cooperative effort, yajna spirit. They went on taking out buckets and buckets and buckets of water and throwing. And the well was getting full again and again, but still infected. So they came back and said, we put in so much effort, but nothing is happening. The master said, what did you do? They said, we took out all the water and threw it out, but still the water got dirty. His question was, but did you remove the dead cat? If the dead cat is not removed and more fresh water is put in and the dirty water is removed, the water will still get contaminated. This is the first lesson that our gurus have taught us. As long as the cause is there, the effect will be there. The cause of all our agitations, storms, struggles, strives in life and sorrows in life, first and foremost we must understand is this duality. And as long as we see this duality, as long as we give importance to this duality, we can try to remove as many sins, go for these courses for catharesis, and want to throw out all the dirt from our mind and fill it with good thoughts, positive thinking, fill it. But the cat is there. And how many distinctions we make: caste, creed, color, race, nationality, religion. See, differences are there. There's no doubt about this when we see. But the duality that separates everything is in our mind. Now, even though our senses see the differences, is it not with our heart and our intellect that even when we see the differences, we can see oneness? Can we or can we not? Can we? You may see the difference of colors, but with your intellect you understand we are all human beings, is it not? You may see so many different faces, but with your heart you can understand that They are all children of the same parent. The parent sees it that way. They see the differences in their children, but they still see them as one. Don't think that, seeing one means you keep looking, and then the whole world disappears. You read sometimes in some books, was meditating, and the whole world disappeared. There was only one. We see all the differences, but until and unless we remove this cat that makes us constantly see differences rather than see oneness. If you want to see oneness, you can see oneness everywhere. Is it not? Whether we say we are all children of God, the same truth is there in every religion, after all, everyone loves their country. No? You can see oneness everywhere if you think. You can see duality everywhere if you want. Where there is duality, there will be conflict. Where there is oneness, there is peace. And until and unless this cat is not removed, you can keep talking about peace, but never will it be attained. How do we remove this and see the consequences of this first? The moment you see duality, you have already divided the world into two, likes and dislikes. That which you like, you will desire, you will want, you want it, right? What you dislike, you will always run away and you hate it. Both create agitations and storms in your mind. Your like to want, your dislike to hate. These two constantly, when they are pulling you in every direction. And the funny thing about life is everything you like runs away from you. And everything you dislike or everyone you dislike just chases you. Yeah. And people keep complaining also, wherever I go, this type of people only are always behind my case, behind my back, Every office I go to, that's a problem. Everybody is jealous of me, Yeah. Now you can escape as many people as possible, but it seems that everything you want to escape chases you, and everything you want, you have to chase. This constant turmoil and agitation, in midst of there, where can there be peace? This duality creates fear, anxiety, but most important, likes and dislikes. Likes and dislikes creates desires in us. Any desire that we have enjoyed or we like, we get attached to it. Anything we got attached to, we are afraid of losing it. See? The moment you have this distinction, there is me and there is the world. In the world, so many distinctions. Then in me, when I look at myself, likes and dislikes, the duality is in us itself. And because of this likes and dislikes, you create a disagreement between your own mind and intellect. They don't feel and think alike. Another duality. Is it not? Then you see yourself as different from others. Ego. And this ego being selfish, I possess this, this belongs to me, this is my right. We don't have one cat, but a cat with a whole litter of kittens dead in the well. You can imagine. how is it possible to have pure water, pure thoughts, when this duality is there in us? With all our love and devotion, with all our knowledge and intelligence, all we have to wake constantly is to remove this duality and recognize that which is one. The moment this duality is removed, there is Shivam. There's all auspiciousness, all purity. Even in our attempt to remove, not even reaching the absolute, even our attempt to see oneness, even in our attempt to integrate our personality, all the positive virtues and qualities that we require comes from what? What are the thoughts that agitate our mind? Are all our negativities. All positive values or thoughts are those which give you a certain amount of well-being, a sense of self-congratulation, a sense of harmony, peace, beauty. Is it not? They constitute all our positive values. Isn't it? Now, how does those positive values come? This is so beautifully personified in our Indian culture. Though Shiva means that which is auspicious, but that which is auspicious has been symbolized as none other than the one who is surrounded by all inauspiciousness. Because life is full of dualities that we see outside. But who is the one who remains unaffected by all these dualities? One who can have a snake beside him and can have the delightful moon also. The cooling Ganga as well as the poison. In life, in midst of all these dualities, how can you maintain your peace? In midst of all these changes, how can you see the oneness? Only one who has got supreme devotion for the one. And second is who has got supreme compassion for the other. You getting the point? If you see the other, have compassion and forgiveness. And that's why Lord Shiva is known to be the embodiment of compassion. Even Buddha, whichever saint also you say, what strikes you most is compassion. An embodiment of compassion, an embodiment of forgiveness. And all this is possible when you have love for the one. Forgiveness comes so natural to a mother. Is it not? Compassion comes so natural to the mother. Why? Because of love for the child. And love for the child is when I see the oneness. Otherwise, I told you, we are just going on struggling, taking out water. All bad thoughts go away. Can do. that is Shivam. When devotion enters your heart, when love enters your heart, where compassion flows naturally, and forgiveness is not even necessary. That is Shivam. And where there is such a mind, there is Shantam. There is stillness. There is peace. So we're going backwards. Advaitam, Shivam, Shantam. But we want is Shantam. Shantam will be there when there is Shivam. And where there is Shivam, there is Advaitam. Now these may be Sanskrit words for some of you, but I've been explaining it step by step, and as we summarize it, you will understand what we simply have to do in our life. Before Gurudev started any meditation session, he would just say one thing, that if you want to be now at peace, it's not so difficult to turn away your mind from pleasurable objects, because you know, at least for the time being, I don't want it. But what keeps coming back in your mind continuously in the seat of meditation is some grievance that you've held from people. Is it not? Some incident that has happened. Some hurt that you have felt. Something or someone said something or did something to you which you're holding on with grievance. He used to say, forgive. Forgive the entire world. Forgive even those who have done not just harm to you, but crimes to you. And even learn to forgive yourself. That nowadays we are very ready to forgive ourselves first. But after that, forgive yourself also. That's why we see Lord Shiva as a very embodiment of forgiveness, of compassion. And such a person himself becomes the auspicious one. Shiva. And such a person attains shanti. Peace. Now this peace also, let me warn you one thing. The peace that is gained through positive thoughts is that peace which is beautiful. Sundaram. It is. But there is a peace beyond that also. There's a peace beyond that also, we have to understand. That's why you see most good people like all of you. You don't agree? You think I'm joking? Are relatively peaceful people, is it not? Because where there is goodness, there is peace. Where there is unity, there is peace. And no doubt that peace is beautiful. The peace that we have when there is goodness in us, the peace that we have when there are virtues in us, the peace that we feel when we've got positive thoughts flowing through us, that peace is no doubt beautiful. For example, if suddenly now some FM radio just blares up, it happens sometimes when you have these mics without cords, and suddenly you'll have this loud techno music, bang, 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 bang. that music can be very jarring or even exciting. But definitely there is no peace in that, isn't it? But suppose you play a chant or a flute, how it immediately has a calming effect. Have you noticed from what I just said loudly about technique music and when I said about the flute, how immediately it has a calming effect? Most people are just satisfied with that calm, that peace. Even sincere spiritual practitioners are very happy. Now, life is good. Everybody is good around. We are nice to people. People are nice to us. There's that calm. Really speaking, why you want anything more? In fact, I will tell you, when I go to this, big cities, and I even go to some small towns, etc., around the world, you will find there are more audiences in the big cities than in the smaller cities. Why? Because the numbers? No, it's got nothing to do with numbers. The good people are peaceful. Why they want anything more? The bad people feel some agitation, so they are looking out for some meditation, they are looking out for something, and they are ready to do something because they are dynamic. The good people, what is there to do? Everything is fine. That complacent peace is not what we call as shantam. That's the prelude. Prelude you call it, no? Prelude to the absolute peace that is called as stillness. Shantam. That peace which we have through good work, actions, that we have through good thoughts, that which we have through positive thinking, that which we get through positive company around us. This is what is called as satwik peace. Unlike the tamasic peace of sleep or a graveyard, or the rajasic peace of a pleasure which is quite enthralling. The peace that we get through goodness, through compassion, through kindness, through forgiveness. And all those help us to remove the cat, the kitten, from the well. But having removed the cat and the kitten, allowing it to be flooded with fresh water so that the dirty water gets flushed out, and get filled with fresh water, then really speaking, we have to discover the stillness. So one stillness we get when our thoughts are full of positivity. Without positivity, if you expect that there is stillness, it is not possible. There is no peace of mind. Because the moment your mind is filled with any negativity, that alone is called as negativity that poisons your mind, that agitates your mind, that disturbs your mind. And any time your mind is disturbed or agitated, blame nobody or nothing. Remove the cat. Because until and unless you remove the cat, you can keep on thinking, I'm going to listen to bhajans, I'm going to listen to this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do japa. Yeah? It will still get contaminated because the cat is not removed. So every time the mind gets disturbed, every time the mind is agitated, when you have frustration, anger, dislikes, jealousy, hatred, remember in that what else you do can temporarily fill it up, but it will get contaminated again. Therefore, Shivam. Yeah? It's a beautiful, beautiful shlokas that which prays to the Lord, may I have only Shiva Sankalpa, Shiva thoughts, auspicious thoughts in my mind. When the mind is thus full of auspiciousness, when all the negativities are removed, little do we even discover that behind that peaceful mind, there is a witness that is ever still, unmoving, unchanging, in which there is not even a flutter, untouched. And that stillness is the very nature of ourselves. That stillness, how do we discover? Before class, we all chanted Om. We did, isn't it? You go to a dance and you see a dancer dancing and you get fascinated. You go to a music concert, you hear the music and you get enchanted. Did you ever recognize why? Did you ever recognize why? See, if you go, say, for a movie, movie all go, right? And in that movie, if you did not feel that all your mental distractions, agitations, etc., for which you went to that movie to get away from all that, while if you go to the movie, if it still remains with you, you don't like the movie, is it not? You don't like that concert. Therefore, the charm is there when the dancer dances in such a way that your attention is only on the dancing and not the problems of your life. Is it not? When you go to a singing concert, that your attention is only on the music, and the moment you just forget all your other problems, anxieties, etc., if the musician can grasp your mind, if the dancer can enchant your mind, if a speaker can keep you attentive, or a theme can keep you interested, you will find that you come from that place feeling very good and saying it was very nice. Isn't this happening? Why? Because your mind gave up all those distractions and got attracted to that one center, dancer, music, or talk, or speaker, etc. Didn't it? Still, little do we realize that what we enjoyed there was not the dance, not the music, not the speech, but the peace that we felt at that time. Many a times, Gurudev made us actually still. And today I am sharing that with you. It was not a matter of understanding, it was not a matter of discourse, it was not just some information. But he actually made us still and showed us that how in everything we can experience that stillness. To take our mind away from all the other noise outside. Even if you notice at home, if there's a lot of construction going outside, in fact you put on a music, to shift your attention from that noise to the music. In the same way, taking away our mind from all that is distracting us to something beautiful, Shiva, something attractive, something that will take away our mind from all the distractions and negativities to something which is positive. When we have done that, rarely do we understand that that music, that dancer, that person, or that scenario can still us when they take our attention from the beautiful to the beauty. From the dance to the space, and from the sound to the silence. How is it done? How is it possible? In one of the satsangs here, I had shared with you one beautiful, beautiful moment which was an eternity. And I cannot but repeat it here for you to know how to attain that stillness. We were with Pujya Gurudev, Swami Chinmayananda, and generally he would give his discourse, and if there was a flight out night after his discourse, he would fly out. Or early morning he would fly out. Such was his enthusiasm to serve the people. Such was his love for everybody. Not a moment of sitting back and doing nothing. But this was one of those rare things. There was no flight till the next day evening. And we had a whole day with Gurudev, and nobody had realized that it was the next day flight and not that day flight. So like that, there was nothing, no appointments made, nothing made. It was a rare opportunity where only he had a whole day off. He would never take that off. So the house he was staying with, they decided to take him. They decided to take him to a place where it was nice, a beach kind of a place. They had a house, beach house, and there was a kind of an island, and we went there. And because we were in the Yuva Kendra, and I was a young brahmachari at that time, so naturally we were taken there. So very few people went with Gurudev. And first thing, Gurudev enters inside, And he says, oh, we'll be here whole day. I should have brought my whole file to do my letters. And in my heart, I tell you, first time I said, even though we used to look forward for his letter, good, he didn't bring it. I mean, he'll have a good rest, and we will also have a chance to be with him exclusively, Great. So, we were sitting with him, and this lady who had taken him there were asking him all these questions, tell us about this saint, tell us about that saint, tell us about this saint, that saint. And he was telling her about the various different saints that we have had in our culture. Some of them Gurudev had personally also met. So Gurudev was talking about them. I was waiting for that opportunity by which I could ask him about his Guru, whom he used to never speak about. Anybody would ask about Taponji Maharaj, he would say nothing. He would just sit quietly. And at the most he would say, what is there to say? He is Brahman, he is absolute, there are no words to describe. No words can describe your Guru, no words can describe any beautiful experience, that's understandable. But we wanted to know, because we had not met Taponji Maharaj, whose disciple is so great, what he must be, no? Please make it. What would he must be? So every time we used to ask him, and that's the time he would just become quiet, his eyes would get moist, and he would not say anything. And many times I have seen people ask him this question and he's never answered. So now it was my opportunity, so I just asked him. I said, Gurudev, tell us some. I knew if I tell him, tell us about Param Gurudev, Swami Taponji Maharaj, he's not going to say anything. I've seen that before. So I said, Gurudev, can you tell us some incident with Param Gurudev? I thought I was being very smart. And by the time I'm already a brahmachari. So if I had asked it as a, as a Yuva Kendra or something, I would get probably a different response, but he just looked at me. I mean, is this what you have studied? He said, incident? Incident and Brahman. I said, okay, please don't bring this Brahman in now, please. Because Brahman comes means there are no words, Don't bring this Brahman in now, So that's why I did not ask about Brahman. I asked about incident with Brahman. I thought I was being very clever. And he said, incident in Brahman? In that oneness there can be any incident? For incident there has to be duality. There is no incident in Brahman. There is no incident in infinite. And he became quiet. I said, oh no. But this time I was not giving up. We had him cornered. He had to do nothing else. He couldn't escape. We were just sitting there. And of course I couldn't say anything, but I was just looking at him. That I'm not giving up. Like, I do want to know if my Guru is so great. Then I want to know from where he has come. So I just waited. Nobody else, thank God, was talking, because they would have only started, okay, don't tell about this, tell about this one, And I was just hoping that they wouldn't say something like this. Luckily, nobody said anything. And then, when he saw I was not giving up, he said, and looked like he was distracting us. Because in my mind was, he's not going to get away with this now. I can't let him get away with this. He has to tell us. So he suddenly said, listen. Listen to the sound of the waves. And we were in the veranda. Actually, we couldn't see the waves. I wonder why they have these houses where the walls are so big that you cannot see the waves, But really speaking, there was no need to see the waves. We could hear the sound of the waves. And he said, listen. And when you listen to the sound of the waves, how calming it is, how beautiful it is. No? The water's coming, splash. It's very beautiful. And we were listening. Everybody, he said, now close your eyes and listen. Listen to the waves. And we were listening. And he said, see how one wave rises, grows in its roar, and then it quietens down. So we were listening. And he said, see how everything in the universe sounds like Om. And along with the waves, he chanted with us. Now see how it rises. Om. And fades. See how it rises and it fades. And with that, he synchronized the Om for us. And we were listening. It was wonderful. It was beautiful. Just the sound of the wave as Om. Om. And as we were listening to that Om, and we got so involved in listening to the wave and Gurudev's voice, chanting Om along with it. And afterwards he stopped chanting Om, and we could hear the waves as Om going on. It was so peaceful. It was so beautiful. It was so wonderful. No doubt. That the waves were rising, waves were setting. Om, Om, Om. And so naturally it was resonating, the sound. And so harmoniously, it was resonating. Om, Om, Om. And then he told us. He said, now listen. Listen, he said. So we were fully attentively listening. That between the rising of the wave and the setting of the wave, listen to the Om. We're listening. And then he said, now between the setting of the wave and the rising of the wave, listen. Between the setting of the waves and the rising of the wave, listen. We first struggle to listen. We are trying to think that there is something to hear. And for the first time, everyone who was there recognized that between the two waves, however small it might be, there is a moment of silence, a moment of stillness. And he said, listen. And as you listen to the stillness, suddenly the mind just goes still. We do not know how many minutes it was, how many hours it was, how many seconds it was. But we know that stillness at that moment was more than an eternity. Or rather, the eternity was in that moment. And then his roaring voice came and said, when your thoughts are totally cluttered, one after the other thoughts coming, you cannot recognize that beyond this chaos, there's a substratum of peace, of stillness. You cannot recognize it, you cannot discover it. But when you have calmed your mind, and when you can watch your thoughts, and when your thoughts have got these beautiful ideas, or even chanting a mantra, right? Just as when you are watching a dance, when you are listening to a music, when you are looking at a painting, we are so involved with the theme of the painting, the words or the music of the instruments, the movement of the dancer, but don't recognize that between all those patterns, there is a still canvas. Between all the movements, there is a space all around, which is steady and still. Between every beat of the tabla, there is a moment of silence. And so also, between all your thoughts, if you can shift your attention from your thoughts to that small gap, when your last thought has just ended, and before the next thought arises, take a peep into that stillness. And once you take that peep into that stillness, it is so absorbing. I do not know if you have seen a train passing. Normally you see all these colors passing, but between the two bogies, two carriages, there's a little gap. Your beloved is on the other side, but you can't even see your beloved because the train is there. You can't meet your beloved because the train is passing. But if you forget or just don't look at the carriages, but keep on focusing at the gap, to your amazement, I don't know, you must have played those games also. We used to have those little toys when we were children, no? That something moves, but you keep your attention focused in the center. You no longer see the carriages, you only see the gap, and through that gap, the vision of your beloved is almost permanent. Is it not? And once you recognize that substratum is always there, dancers will come and go. Different movements of dance will be there. Sounds will fluctuate. But the substratum behind it is just the one peaceful, auspicious, shantam, and that peace is auspicious, it's beautiful, it's blissful, and it is one in midst of all the differences. And that peace, which is beyond our own thoughts, which is always there, is our own true nature. And when you discover that Shantoham, Shivoham, then only really you recognize your beauty, that you can say Sundaroham. Thus, removing through our understanding and our love all the differences that we see, that creates this ego, that creates this attachment, that create yours and mine. Bring forth in your love all the compassion and forgiveness by which your mind becomes peaceful. In that peaceful mind, when your thoughts are calm and your thoughts are beautiful, watch those thoughts and then begin to recognize the little gaps between those thoughts. And take your mind there and recognize that that which lies beyond the thought is I, and this I is ever still and peaceful. In fact, suppose like a politician I was talking right now, Indian politicians I'm talking about, and especially if you go to Tamil Nadu. I think all of them are like that, but I am living there, so I can tell you. When they start, there is not a full stop, nor a comma, not a moment of pause. I think by the end of 5 minutes, not only he must be exhausted, but every listener would be brain dead. Have you noticed some people's conversation, they cannot keep you enthralled because there is no pause. In the beginning, if there's a very big pause also, you will get distracted. But when the theme is enthralling, and the pauses are at the full stops and the commas, even a conversation becomes calming, doesn't it? The same way. Now and then, at least sit down with nice thoughts in your mind, forgetting all the differences that you have with your wife, your children, your boss, your colleagues, or your juniors. And at that moment, just revel in your nice thoughts. Or bring in thoughts about Guru, God, etc., your Ishta Devata, etc., or a mantra, or even a song, a bhajan. And as you get involved with that sound, shift your attention to the gap between the two. And as you reach that gap, let yourself be absorbed in it. Because then you recognize what lies beyond your thoughts. And once you recognize this ever still witness of all your thoughts, then now and then there might be storms, then calm, but you know that you are ever still. And on that still canvas are all the movies and drama happening. You keep yourself in that stillness. And once you have discovered that stillness no one can take away from you. And that is the stillness that Vedanta is pointing out. That is the stillness that our Gurudev showed us. So, remove the cat. Let the fresh waters fill in. And then you drink it. So now sit straight. Close your eyes gently. Let us first chant together. Then I will just tell you to stop your chanting. Just listen to the chanting. And after that, when I stop, you continue in your mind. Get yourself fully involved with the chanting. And then try to pay attention to that stillness which is there between the two mantras or thoughts. Sit straight. Make no movement whatsoever. First chant with me, and then when I say listen, you just listen to me, and then when I keep quiet, just listen to your thoughts. Listen to the chanting in your mind. And then shift your attention to that stillness that you can peep through your thoughts. Listen. The one who experiences, the one who recognizes this stillness and recognizes that this is me. Such a person lives like the perfected one, a Shiva on earth, seeing no distinctions, no differences, but as everyone as the self, which is ever peaceful, blissful, without any distinction whatsoever. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.